Welcome to Vital 100, the podcast designed to take your health to the next level.
It is said youth is wasted on the young, so it behooves you to stay young as long as you can. Hi, this is Dr. Bob Johnson. We're going to talk today about kind of some general terms of aging and what to do and how you can slow the aging process down, because inevitably we all do age. You might as well do it gracefully, and you might as well try to add decades to your life, healthy decades. And this is a good message for young and old. I think it holds more important validity to people as they get older, but it should be embraced by people who are younger. So a couple years ago, I read a book called The Blue Zones. The Blue Zones was an investigative book about zones of people throughout the world, in Okinawa, the Seventh-day Adventists, several other societies that lived to a very ripe age of 100 plus, many people in society, and they had healthy lives very, very long after most people would either be in desperate straits with their health or after they've died. And so were some of the conclusions of the Blue Zones. One is that these societies where people lived a long time had many of the consistent things from one person to another. Things like they maintained social engagement. One of the hardest things for people as they age is they become isolated and they don't have people that come to visit them, and they're all by themselves and they get very lonely and they don't have as good health. Depression has a great effect on overall health. Social engagement, they ate very well. They had much less processed foods. They had more natural foods, crops and so forth, without preservatives, without pesticides on them. They had more healthier foods without all the processed things going on with this food, and so they would get the nutrients. Nowadays, with all the pesticides and all the things that are put on our crops, the glyphosate, which is Roundup, those kind of things are very damaging to overall health, and people have to avoid them. Now, organic foods are very important. Organic are basically foods that don't have the preservatives and the pesticides and so forth on them, and there are some foods that just don't need to be consumed organically because the hard shell, like bananas or avocados, can be consumed and be healthy without being organic. The things like berries and potatoes and things like that do need to be organic, because otherwise you're going to get a real exposure to pesticides. And if you think about it, pesticides on the food, they're killing the pests and they are killing us, because we have the same types of cells as the pests that we're trying to get rid of. So you got to figure out what foods to eat organically and not. The other thing is, in these blue zones, people had much less stress in life. Now, given our modern society where we're all busy working and going through many activities and so forth, we have a huge amount of stress. And it's not just emotional stress, but it's many things, is that you have to have ways to dissipate that stress. If it's not in your lifestyle, you've got to do things like meditation, or you've got to learn the EFT or emotional freedom techniques. These are all things that can help you reduce anxiety, stress, that kind of thing. And I personally do a lot of exercising, and it has helped tremendously with my overall stress levels. So people in these blue zones who ate very well, natural foods, who didn't have the stresses, who were socially engaged, who had a purpose in life. That's very important. They had a purpose, whether it's to help the generations after them or advance something for mankind. If they had a purpose in life, that was very important. It kept them going and kept them alive. So The Blue Zones was a very good and enlightening book. I would encourage every one of you to look at that. There was a lot of messages to be able to create a long life. Now, we've talked a number of times about genetic evaluations. if indeed you want to be able to live a long life, you really do need to see what your genetic proclivity is, meaning that what your genes has in store for you can be a great bit of information, and you can counter the bad things that it has in store for you and to enjoy and celebrate the healthy things that you have going on genetically. Every once in a while I hear a story of somebody who, when I do some counseling or health coaching, that they will say to me, well, I had a grandmother who smoked all the time and she drank bourbon and she lived to 103. Well, these are people that genetically are very gifted. In fact, they have a great ability to not get diseases and to be able to detoxify the toxins that they're exposed to. So this is unusual that people can abuse themselves so much and still live a long time. I would not advise anybody to just hope you have those good genes. So a genetic evaluation is very important to slow the aging down and to be able to give yourself good, healthy, long life. There's another theory that caloric restriction, meaning you don't eat huge amounts of meals, and the other type of eating that interfaces with that is intermittent fasting. What that means is you don't eat for about 14, 15 hours, and you eat, say, the rest of the 7, 8, 9 hours, and not eating for those 14, 15 hours will give your body the chance to relax and recover and digest and assimilate. Whereas if you're eating all the time, it used to be that they'd say you want to snack all day long. Well, what that does is it continually calls on your body to excrete or produce insulin, which will take the blood sugar and put it into the cells. And if you're eating all day long, you indeed will call on that insulin, which is a very big aging factor. So the intermittent fasting keeps you from not eating. Yes, you're drinking water, and occasionally I'll have a little protein powder, but I am not eating for about 14 or 15 hours, and then bunching my meals, 2 or 3 meals in a day, healthy meals, into the remaining 7, 8 hours, 9 hours, and so it allows my body to rest and relax and recover. How you are eating, timing of your eating, and what you are eating is going to be very important to how you age. One of the real fundamental things is to increase, and this is a technical term, increase the mitochondria in your cells. The mitochondria are the energy factors that the cells use to be able to carry on their basic metabolic functions, their basic detoxification, their nutrient utilization. It's the energy not only for you to be physically active, but it's the energy also for every cell and every tissue to be functioning at a high level. And as we get older, our mitochondria lose their potency, their ability to produce energy, and they get lesser and lesser. So there are certain supplements, high-intensity interval training we just talked about, where you do some speeding up, and also the intermittent fasting is very good at producing more mitochondria. There's other technology. Some of you may have heard of the BEMER, B-E-M-E-R technology, which increases mitochondria in the cells. Coenzyme Q10 and associated products can also improve the mitochondria in all your cells, and thus your energy level and your functioning of every part of your body. So these are some of the aging things that are important. We've talked so much about sleeping. We've talked about reducing stress. We've talked about the nutrients and so forth, but all this comes into good aging. Just so you know about measuring how you're doing in comparison to what we really should, is there's a lot of genetic research that says we should, if everything's functioning right, be living to between 120 and 130 years in health. And the fact that the average life expectancy is in the 70s, and maybe some of the healthier countries can live up to almost 80 as a kind of an average lifespan. We should be living more than that, but that takes some real attention to all the healthy things in life and to be able to counter the things that are not so healthy in life, if indeed you do want to live a long, healthy life. A lot of people don't, but I would assure you that when they get to a certain point, they would like to elongate their life and be healthier. The sooner you get started on healthy lifestyle and incorporating some of the things we're talking about, the longer and the healthier you will live. It is very exciting. I can tell you this personally. It's very exciting to be healthy and to be as healthy as many of my people that I interact with that are 20, 30, 40 years younger than I am. So very exciting to be able to do that, and I would encourage you to think long and hard about investing in your health and to be able to learn about it and make sure your life is the length you want it to be and be healthy. I hope you got some good information out of this, and please enjoy the journey. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Vital 100. Please check out our website, vital100wellness.com, for other ways to listen to our podcast, as well as additional health resources. If you have questions for Dr. Bob, or if you have feedback or recommendations for the podcast, please send an email to info@vital100wellness.com.